Today, I am joined by the founder of Lumin Architects, a design-led residential studio working across London, Hertfordshire, and Buckinghamshire. Lucy is known for creating light-filled, sustainable homes that are built around the way people actually live, and her work sits at the intersection of good design, well-being, planning strategy, and long-term performance. She's also won the 2025 Women's Leaders UK Award in Manufacturing and Construction, and has some really sharp views on everything from family homes to sustainability to planning reform, modular housing, and the future of residential architecture. Lucy doesn't just work with families, she also works with small-scale developers, even people like myself and potentially people like you who are listening. So, here to tell you all about it in her own words, please welcome to the show, Lucy. Hello, Lucy. Good morning.
Hi, Phil. Thank you for having me.
Lucy, we're just going to kick straight off. Where did you grow up and where first felt like home to you?
Grew up in Slovenia. I'm originally from Slovenia. I studied there. Wanted to do an internship abroad, and my favorite city in the world was London. At the time, I was still I am, huge Harry Potter fan, and it just felt like a really quirky place to be. So I found an internship. I came here for 3 months just before I finished my uni, and that was in 2012. The rest is history. I've been here, 13 and a half years. I basically came back to finish my uni and then had a dissertation on a Thursday, party on a Friday, and a one-way ticket on a Saturday. So I came back, found a job. But yeah, growing up in Slovenia was really special. I really miss it. It's really small. I don't know if people know, we have 2 million people in the whole of the country. I still go back quite a lot. Home, that will always be my home. My parents still live there. The house has been the house where my dad grew up in, and that will always have a very special place. But obviously when I was, 24 at the time, I felt the urge to move out. Maybe just to explain a bit more. So I studied in the capital, and my parents are from the capital, and university is for free in Slovenia, including masters. Then means there's no loans, there's no time to actually work and earn good money. So you just stay at home. You live at home, and then you just take the bus for, 15, 20 minutes. You go to uni, and then you come back. So you never have this opportunity to live on your own. So that was really special for me. The first time I lived on my own was in London at the age of 24. A small HMO felt like home for me at the time because I had everything on my own. But since then I moved in London. I probably lived in maybe 5 different houses, then moved just outside London for a bit. And now we own a house just outside Milton Keynes. So that's been my journey so far in terms of homes.
Was it your mum and your dad, do you think, that helped kind of shape your ambition?
I'd say quite the opposite. Like, they've always been like really, really supportive and, the biggest cheerleaders. But they come from first of all, Slovenia used to be a socialist country, Yugoslavia used to be very socialist. So I guess the mentality that I grew up with was, you have to play it safe, you have to go to uni, you get a steady job, and then you're happy in that job for 40 years. And I never really saw the entrepreneurship or doing something crazy like moving abroad and staying there. I never even wanted to stay here forever when I did my internship. So where I am at the moment was never really a plan. I just always knew that I was ambitious in so many ways, just doing uni or doing things on the side. There was always a bit more that I felt like I could do, but there was no kind of long-term plan. It was just sort of, I think I want to try and move abroad. Let's see how that is. And I never knew that I was going to stay. The plan wasn't to stay. The plan wasn't to go into entrepreneurship at all. Our generation is a bit different, I guess. And I still remember I said to my even friends or, relatives, I said, I might not stay in this job forever. And they said, why? But it's a good job. And I said, well, that's how you grow. You experience different things. And that was sort of a normal thing, especially in London. You celebrate when you move jobs and when you try different things. So yeah, the ambition was, well, first there was no ambition. First they were just, let's try and see if I could, land an internship abroad. And I remember my career kind of advisor in uni said to me, oh, you should probably find a different country because it's really hard to get into the UK. Obviously, it was the EU at the time, so it was a bit easier. But still, he had no connections. He sort of advised maybe, try Austria, try Germany. And I was just so set on London. I didn't listen to him, and I just sent off, lots of different CVs. I didn't get lots of response. It was probably, near hundreds maybe. I didn't get any of the response, and I got the one response, the company saying, yeah, we'll have you, but you'll have to work for free, which was, still is, I guess, the culture in architecture internships. especially if you want to work for someone who's quite known. And yeah, my parents, as much as they couldn't give me the entrepreneurship kind of background or the aspirations, to move abroad, they gave me the support. They funded me. They were there because I did the kind of funding that you got from the EU at the time was, I think it was maybe €1,600 for 3 months, which we all nearly impossible to survive in London for. So yeah, I guess I always kind of found my way with that support, even if it wasn't direct, if that makes sense.
What did money mean in your childhood to what it means now?
It definitely changed. And it's also, I'm working on it, actively to change my beliefs and kind of my belief system, I guess. Because indirectly, what I took from it was, again, some people have families and relatives who do have businesses and they see that. I didn't see that around me. So the beliefs that I took from it were, well, business is bad, money's then bad, and you shouldn't be too high up, but you also get supported if you're too low down. It's kind of like the middle ground, the safe ground is it's okay. Don't stand out. There's only, there's an amount that you need for kind of good quality. So yeah, it took me a while to actually see this in a different light, because I remember, even talking, like, that was ages ago. It's probably, yeah, maybe 10 years ago. And my partner comes from England and he said, when we have a child, the future child, they'll know entrepreneurship. And I straight away pushed back and he said, but why not? They don't need to go into it, but the skills that you get around it are lifelong skills, and they'll come in handy in all of different things. So you can do so much good with money as well, not just for yourself, for others. It doesn't solve anything apart from financial problems, but it does give you the freedom to, for me, see my family more. My sister lives in Berlin, my parents still live in Slovenia, so it's a lot of friends live, Denmark, Amsterdam, all around Europe. So it gives you a certain freedom. It doesn't have to be a bad thing. It can maybe be, an aspiration that you want to get to a certain point because that means something to you. London is very supportive in entrepreneurship, and you meet people and they help you and they say, oh, how about this? Have you thought of this? It's very creative like that. And I love it from that point of view.
Good. And I'm glad that that's worked out well for you. And I think that for anyone listening, that's something that I think loads of people struggle with in the beginning, that so many of your what feel like limiting factors, like you didn't even let geography stand in your way, but sometimes even I have my own limiting beliefs. You're saying that you're building on your view of money now. I have them too when it comes to things like borrowing. I'm still scared to ask another person for money. I just want to use my own. But ultimately, you've got to get past those things if you want to progress to where you want to progress to, like you have done. So I think that's a really important message. Talking about what you're building now, please tell our listeners, what are you building right now and who are you building it for?
When I started my business at the time, I was a freelancer. It was a business. It had a name. It had a bit of a brand. I started as a kind of side business. I was still working on another business as an operational kind of director, learning a lot about the business, which was great.
Was it still within architecture or was it completely different?
No. So when so my background's in residential. I worked for a residential company for maybe 4.5 years, and I learned so much about how everything works and how the building regulations work in the UK, the resi, standards and stuff like that. We worked on housing units, anywhere from 100 to 400 housing units. And I didn't quite know whether I wanted a new job, like maybe something on a smaller scale to actually design for an actual person. Because obviously when you're building social housing for 400 people, you don't quite know who's going to move in, slightly different. And my partner was working with his agency and it was quite busy. And he said, well, why don't you, try something on your own? So not actually having any MBA background, apart from reading a few books and listening to podcasts, that was really useful for me. So I started then the business that I have at the moment. I started on as a side business. It was more like a freelance, I guess, business that didn't have the direction at the time. It was all sort of through recommendations and applying to whatever job was there, and just being grateful for the experience. That's very personal, but it kind of it falls into this story of my business. I had my son 3 years ago, and I sort of thought, he's just going to slot right in. I'm just going to work until he's here, and then he can just work with me, which was obviously completely different. still work through it because it was my business, it was my project. And they didn't quite finish it on time like they normally don't. He was on meetings with me in my career. He came to photo shoots when he was, 1 year old. And yeah, I sort of like worked around it without any support around, waiting for nursery for maybe 15 months. We had to wait for nursery, and that was still part-time at the time. So we kind of worked around this. And as I was like walking a dog in a buggy, you know, thinking about my life, thinking about where do I really want to go? What lifestyle do I want to have? How do I want to live with him now? It forced me to rethink everything in terms of my brand, in terms of who do I want to work with, what types of projects, and also the structure of it. So I still work, he's nearly 3 now. I still only work, well, I work a lot more, but I work 3 days a week. I'm available during the day, 3 days a week when he's at nursery. The evening works, obviously people can't ring me, or they can, but they won't because they're asleep. So I kind of work around that. So when I was, on those long walks, I was kind of thinking, well, what really lights me up is working with people that I could connect with on some level, something that we share in common. And I've been really fortunate recently in the past year, maybe, that I have been working with lovely, lovely people who there's this mutual trust and just like connection. You know how sometimes you feel they're your clients, but they could also be your friends.
They're the best clients because naturally you've got rapport with them.
Exactly. And that's really who I want to work with. And yeah, I've been very fortunate. You can probably see lots of, the projects that I'm proud of on my website, but they're kind of old. And as I, at the moment, split my business, history in before my son and after my son, I've been working on a lot of interesting stuff that haven't been completed yet. But they've been, for example, a listed building, something quite interesting about that because you want to do the interventions, but not too loudly and with kind of the respect of the heritage. There's been a stables conversion and conservation home, a conservation area. That's someone who, again, like a really nice client, but also has the values and aspirations of let's just keep this structure as it is, but let's just intervene with something modern and lots of glazing and lots of light. And I don't know if you read anything on my Slovene, what my name means light. So Lučka, my name, is little light in Slovenian. That's where the name comes from, Lumen. The light is so much more, you can do so much with it, not just where it comes from in the morning and in the evening and in the summer and in the winter, but also how people live. Sometimes maybe you have a studio, but you want that northern light, or you have lots of, summer birthdays and you want to open it up to the garden and you want to maybe shade it a bit because you don't just want, the southern kitchen diner, for example, but then have lots of skylights. That just won't feel comfortable. You won't feel cozy for that family. So yeah, there are a few projects that I'm really excited to actually see finish, but it probably won't be until next year.
What has it meant now being a mother? Has that changed the way that you see projects now when you approach a house, or if someone comes to you, do you have now a different view?
Well, there's definitely there's an added experience that, I live now that I didn't before. So I would naturally, let's say, specify a natural paint, for example, or a washable paint, but I wouldn't really know what it means now, how important it is to have that in place. A lot of a couple of clients have asked me in the past year, actually, who are planning to have kids, would ask me things like, oh, so what do you think, because you've got kids? Should we have the washing machine here, or is it a lot to carry down? Or, how do you think that could, and it's like any other question. There's no right or wrong. There's no one, answer fits all. It all depends on the family. So that, I guess, is my answer to a lot of things that people ask me. But yeah, definitely I can see clients asking me things from my kind of experience. Or someone will ask, well, you have a dog and you have a child, would you like this sort of utility to come from the side? Or yeah, just practical things that they then need to answer their kind of lifestyle. Because that's what my job is. The first thing I do is talk about their lifestyle. Maybe, we can talk for like half an hour, just how do they actually live and how do they use the space, and to try and get the things out of them that they haven't thought of. But yeah, I guess living the experience helps me advise, or I guess it helps them feel a bit safer in the future.
How much of the original idea of the client are you taking? Because they're essentially paying you for your taste and your skill in design. Is there like a technique, or is it every project's different for you?
Well, I guess a bit of both. But yes, every project is definitely different. it's good if people come with ideas, especially when it's their own house. I always say to them, I want them to be as owners as possible because it is their house. We're designing together. I'm not the sort of architect who comes in and says, this is the specification, this is how you should have it, this is my style, take it or leave it. I feel we as architects so much more to actually respect someone's style. Probably my bathroom wouldn't be full of black tiles, but if that's someone's aspiration, then absolutely we can make it work. And there are certain things that people can't live without for one way or another, and we can work around that. But I mostly enjoy when people come to me with ideas and they say, oh, we're thinking about doing this, and then that would do this. And then if I can just, obviously I look through options holistically in so many ways, but if I can just find a few things that unlocks something that they haven't thought of, and I'd say, oh, have you thought of this? Or how about this? And they go, oh, that just, that just opened so much more for us. Like, thank you so much. We never thought about that. So it's taking something, understanding it, why they want to do it. Because if people say to me, we want to do the extension here and this, that, and this, that, I go, slow down. What are you trying to achieve and why are you doing it? And there have been times, obviously, I need to know the budget, because the budget, even if they want to just tell me the range or the maximum they want to spend, because that drives the design as well. And I'm not the sort of architect who would feel that it's morally right to just go and design something amazing, but it will be double the budget. That's not our job. Our job is to actually, design within those constraints sometimes. So if there is a constraint of the budget, then sometimes I would advise to say, well, maybe you don't need to extend this kitchen for, 3 square meters here. Maybe the garage conversion will give you that extra bedroom that you need. And maybe let's just focus on this. Or, maybe come back in a year's time or have a rethink. I would never kind of push people into this, but there are stages, you can do it in kind of different phases if you really need to. But yeah, it's taking someone's aspirations, Pinterest boards, understanding why they want to do something, why they like certain things, why they don't like certain things. They'll have an experience of, we had this in the previous house and it really didn't work for us. That's fine as well. So it's kind of like a process like that. But my job is to make it better in some ways, in flow, in light.
Have you ever come up in a moment against your business, like most people have, which I will call, in a rude word, like an oh shit moment, where you've thought, I just don't know how to get past this? And if so, what do you do when you hit challenges like that with your business?
I guess, yes, I have been there in the past, but I've been in this world for a long time now, that I'm content with the fact that we don't know everything, like any business won't know everything. As long as we're resourceful enough to find things and pause and say, I know who can help me. I know where I can find this. I know how to get past this. It's probably my mindset in life as well. There will be challenges, but they, as much as they're urgent, people ring, there's, something happening on site. Obviously, they all have to be sorted, but you can sort them with anxiety, or you can sort them with confidence that we will get through this. Sometimes it's collaboration and just going back to this consultant or this consultant and maybe having a sit down together. I say to any of my clients, the developers and private clients, there will definitely be challenges that you haven't prepared for. That's probably the one certainty in construction industry. Things will come up and we will find a way, like we always do. I remember my first internship, it was kind of like a work experience when I was still in uni. And it was my first year in uni, and I did my work experience over the summer. And I remember, architect, business owner of 30, 35 years, he still said to me, look, I still learn something new every single day. It's a really good industry to be in, to not get bored, because there are still new things, not just only new things come up or new things you come across, or there's different ways of doing things, right? And I always, I did a lot of DIY with my dad, and I always thought, he just knows it all. Like, he just knows. And I grew up and I did a bit of my own house, and I thought, well, there's multiple ways of doing things, right? Obviously, when you're doing DIY, it's a bit different. You're not building a house that has to pass the regulations, but still, there's different installations that you can use, and you need to know which one your client wants to use for whatever reason, or, maybe it's the budget constraint, maybe it's the feeling that they want to get out of it, and, stuff like that.
What would you say is harder or been a bigger obstacle to you? Has it been starting, scaling, or surviving in the modern day marketplace?
Starting is probably the easiest if you just don't think too much. I still think I would have done it that quickly after having a child. So you can do it before, just go for it. Scaling is fun, and I'm doing this at the moment, but there's a process to it. People have, wrote books on it. There's people who have, been in your shoes that have done it that you can follow. So I get marketed and getting the right clients and getting repeat clients. Obviously, the industry as it is, hopefully you just get one client who wants to do, a forever home. It's not something that they tend to come back for maybe once or twice. So it's like a lifetime cycle of a client is, just it's once or twice in their lives. For me, it was again from 3 years, maybe 2 years ago. It was about positioning the values that we want to share that will hopefully attract the right clients to us. But coming from, like I mentioned before, coming from a branding strategy company where you go networking and everyone who you meet is essentially your potential client, right? You're still clients who came back after maybe a year because they then found a place. They saw me in a magazine that didn't have the house at the time yet, and then they put an offer on it, and then it took 3-4 months, and now we're here. But it's I guess it's a very slow burner in that sense, and sometimes hard to plan. But yeah, it's still fun.
Do you have like a mentor, a professional mentor that you've gone to with your business that you reach out to, or are you doing all of this by yourself?
So recently, I have had a mentor that's like a business mentor that I would just tap in whenever I wanted, maybe a few times a year, whenever there was like some sort of hurdle to work through. And a lot of the times, maybe people relate with that, but for me, entrepreneurship it's not just something fun to do. It's not just something, I feel like I can excel a lot into because of how I think and what interests me, but also it's very personal. There's a lot of like personal obstacles that you have to overcome. So yes, they can advise from a business perspective, but there will usually be something like we touched on before, the internal beliefs that need reprogramming in some way, perhaps.
Yeah, I think so. And I don't know how this next question will land, because obviously you're very much a professional person providing a professional service. But if someone came to you today, like a younger person, like a mentee, looking to you as a mentor and said, I have £50,000, £100,000, how should I get started in property today? What would you advise them, or how would you guide them to start?
I definitely think there's a lot more information out there to learn. Hands-on experience is always really appreciated. If I could go back and I could retrain myself, I would probably take a summer out working on a site, like to actually work with bricklayers, and love to have that experience when I was younger. I feel like education is one thing. Obviously, some will cost money. It doesn't necessarily have to be, going the route of university and all the degrees and coming out and have no experience. Hands-on experience is always a lot better. If that means, working on site, working for a studio, learning through, YouTube or reading things, and then just going for it. The younger you are, the more mistakes you can make in that sense. And, with 50 or 100,000, I'll probably start investing into property, flipping them, seeing what works and what doesn't. Yeah, just trying and testing things out. You have 50, 100 grand, you spend a bit on the education, and then you spend the rest of just trying, maybe buying a property, flipping it, learning hands-on, I guess. That's what I would say to the younger generation.
I've heard you talk on other podcasts and on bits that are out there on you, the use of AI moving forward in architecture. And you are, well, it seemed to be more pro AI, using AI as like a junior designer. Do you find that it's genuinely useful, or do you think that human judgment is still very much in the driving seat when it comes to architecture?
I think human judgment will always be on the driver's seat. You can kind of create the brief as much as you can. There will always be this person who is trying to understand you. Same probably goes to therapy. You can probably have a really good AI therapist that just misses that human aspect. And, some people will just love to download the plans and get on with it. But some people will kind of appreciate being more understood and actually designing for them specifically. So I don't think we're going to run away from the AI in any industry, especially ours. Construction will stay. Obviously, you need the bricklayers, you need the people who are actually working, whereas services and anything like that, we have to learn to live with it. And if that means being a good prompter, being a good, like you said, human judgment of things, the AI itself will not give you good results if you don't know what to ask it. Even when you kind of double checking, you can go and double check the planning regulations or building regulations, but there's still going to be your judgment to say, hang on a minute, I know that's not right. Like, where's that coming from? So you have, for now, you still have to treat it as a junior designer, but it can definitely help moving things along with stuff that maybe, doesn't require human judgment as much, but gives you the outcome that you need.
I agree, and I think that that's the best way that I view AI, which is a helpful tool in my toolbox. And how can it remove hours of pondering and wondering? So, would you rather scale fast or build slowly?
Build slowly.
Would you rather control everything or empower other people?
Empower the people.
Would you rather safe growth or take a bold risk?
Oh, that's a tricky one. Just after my child, you'll have to be safe growth.
It makes sense.
But I wouldn't go for the bold risk.
And what's more important to you right now, profit or making an impact?
Making an impact.
So, as a final question, when all the plans fade, what is it, Lucy, that you want to be remembered for building?
I want to be remembered for building honest spaces, the ones that use honest materials, the ones that understand the user, the ones that, work with the light. I want to be remembered with integrity and with a deeper connection, whether that's through an architecture that's built and also as someone who provides service, when people go, she was so great to connect with on a deeper level as well.
And I think that really comes across. And I think obviously since being a mother and then deciding to open your own architectural business, I think your story is inspiring. And you and me cross on so many bits that I've seen with your holistic approach to design, the way that you use light and the way that you're allowing light to inform the decisions, I think is often very underspoken about, but so important to making a space feel alive or feel special. So I'm really thrilled that you got to come on the show today and tell everyone about what you do. If people wanted to reach out to you or find you, where would they do that? Where would be the best place to reach out to you at?
So a lot of the family projects we share on Instagram. A lot of more kind of development, thoughts and ideas we share on LinkedIn. And we also update our website constantly with blogs and new projects and new updates.
That's fantastic. Well, what I'll do is we'll drop all of that information in the show notes below so people can click through and connect with you directly. And before you go, you kind of loosely touched on a few projects that have got coming up, but what is in the future for Lucy and for Lumen Architecture? What are the plans for the next 12 months?
So trying to really narrow down the ideal client, which is the kind of aspirationally sustainable family who wants to renovate their homes for their needs. I'm also scaling in terms of the delivery. So we're delivering 4 houses in London, 8 flats in Croydon, and trying to scale in kind of development world a bit more as well. It's a different energy. We still work with the same, ethos, kind of values and integrity. It's just a different, I guess pace is slightly different, and the aspirations of the client are slightly different. Yeah, that's what we're trying to do in the next 12 months. So working both with the family developers, sole developers, and also small boutique scale developments.
That sounds fantastic. And it actually sounds like a very busy year ahead with your young son turning 3. So I wish you all the luck in the world. And Lucy, thank you so much for joining us today. Good luck. And I hope that we keep in touch.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lucy. Speak soon. Bye-bye.